to teach. In the 80s, I came in and I lectured a time or two, and Rob Rose, who at the time was the head of the performance division, asked me if I'd teach a course on performance, and I told him I'd love to do it, and I was on that like a cop on a donut. I was right there. I really loved the idea of teaching, loved my students, loved to be around Berklee, and that was. I started in the fall of 1989, and so we're coming up on 20 years now.
Wow! Congratulations.
Yeah, tell me about it. Nobody's more surprised than I. But
yeah. And Harvard as well, or how did that start out?
Harvard came about. I knew some people, the masters of one of the houses at Harvard, which is what they call their dorms, and at Lowell House, and I needed a place to live for a while, so they offered me a room, and they offered me the position of artist in residence at Lowell House, and given my options, which weren't very many at the time, I was delighted to have that. And I was supposed to be there for 6 months, and I stayed for 5 years. And now I live in Watertown, but
cool.
I still have that association with Lowell House, and very pleasant.
I know you're on tour at the moment. You're just kind of doing a few venues each month, and you're just pretty much going to be on the East Coast?
Well, I just came back 2 nights ago from Seattle.
That's right.
Washington. So I work where I can and when I can. I love to work. I love to play. Love to go out and see my audience. So any chance I get to do that, away I go.
And you working on any new CDs at the moment, or new stuff?
I do have some new stuff, and I'm we're at a very complicated time musically, because it's creatively it's a very difficult time for creative distribution. It's easy to get it out there. It's very difficult to finance it and then expect to make any money back from doing it or get a return on your investment that way. It's since the fall of the major record companies, which was precipitated by many things, but not the least of which was the digitization of musical creativity, not to mention all the other creative outputs that are subject to digitization. Digitization allows the infinite, unlimited transfer of your creativity. And if there's no way of, and this is particularly germane for obviously our student body here, is how are you going to get paid when you go out there? And so this is problem number one that we face these days, is how do we find an income stream to justify the assembly of great musicians, great studios, those sorts of things. And it is a real dilemma.
So the idea of like record deals are pretty much dead. Everyone's just doing it themselves these days with CD Baby and kind of MySpace.
Yes, but again, there's no because there is no distribution network. Record companies profited by controlling in its earlier form. Let's go back to my formative years. I'm 57, so my formative years were I was 18 in 1969, and so when I was coming along, if you wanted to get distribution, you had to be signed by a record company, and your music had to be at a certain level before you could get it recorded, because recording was not easy. it was expensive. It took a lot of equipment. It took big. I made my first record on an 8-track machine.
Oh wow!
But ultimately on 24 tracks. But if a 24-track recorder with magnetic tape, each roll of tape cost $150.
Wow!
And that lasted you a couple of songs.
Mm-hmm.
So your dollar figure was huge, and so somebody was going to invest in you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And who invested in you were record companies, and they would listen to you. They would say, "Well, I like what you're doing. I will invest in you. I will give you a miserable, rotten contract, of course, and I will advance you the money to do this."
Mm-hmm.
And then they would record you. You'd put a record out, and if there was a buzz out there about it, then they had the wherewithal and the financial wherewithal, again, all paid for by this distribution network. And they had the financial wherewithal to finance your promotion.
Mm-hmm.
So they give you tour support. They would hire promotion people to promote you at radio stations, to break your record. And then you would have your hit record on the radio. But if you wanted that hit record and you were a listener, you couldn't buy the hit record. I mean, theoretically, you could buy a 45, but nobody would. You would buy the album.
Gotcha.
So to get the one song, you bought 10, 11, 12 songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that you would listen to that. It would build a familiarity with the music that artist was making. So you're listening to Jimi Hendrix or the Cream or the Who or 10 Years After or Janis Ian or my brother James or myself. So you're listening to these people, and you're able to make a deep commitment to their music because you're listening to lots of it.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, because your records are selling, you've generated an income stream for a corporate structure that then can promote the bejesus out of you. And the result was that careers got very, very big.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have that comparable size. It just drives me crazy when I see shows like, all due respect to my peers,
Mm-hmm.
my contemporaries, but it drives me crazy, Brant, to see all these the only person who is selling out big stadiums, like the Rolling Stones,
Right,
Jimmy
right.
Buffett, or Led Zeppelin, or Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, get the walkers. Wheel them in and give them some oxygen. This is geezer stuff.
Yeah.
Why aren't young groups, Berklee students, recent Berklee graduates, taking this over?
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that without a distribution infrastructure, there isn't money to. It's not enough to have a spark. A spark has got to find a dry field,
Mm-hmm.
and all those fields are wet out there. And so the question is, what do we do about it? What do we do about the free digital transference of music? And I don't know. I've got an idea. I'm wrong a lot, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind being wrong. But for me, what we need to do is we need to convince, and I think we should do this at Berklee, and I've said this to President Brown before,
Mm-hmm.
I think that we should have a conference here at Berklee of all the creative entities who are subject to digitization.
Mm-hmm.
That means music, radio, television, movies, books, newspaper, programmers, all of these creative entities who are being pillaged by a free internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that your songs, your music, should be watermarked, And I think when it passes through, I think there should be a tax on the internet of some sort. And I think that money should be held in escrow. And as your creativity passes through the internet, it releases some of that money that then gets transferred to you.
Right.
That's probably a lot more on this than you wanted to hear. But.
No, I love listening to you. It doesn't matter. I love everything you have to say. I soak it up.
Yeah, good.
Now, the next question I was going to ask you is what do you look for in a well-constructed song? And I know you've probably heard your song "I Will Be in Love with You" a million times, but why is it, do you think, that this song was the most successful, I guess, in terms of like on the charts? I'm not saying that really means anything, because I'm sure you've written better songs that you think. But
well, I may have written better songs, and I may not. But songs, a well-constructed song. First off, let's talk about hit records. Let's talk about and a hit record is designed not to make the artist sound good, but a good hit record makes the listener sound good. So when you have hold on, let me get my guitar.
Okay. I love that strap, by the way.
My little rainbow straps.
Yeah.
Testing 1, 2, 3. So, what a great pop song does is when it comes on, your listener can sing along. And it makes them sound good. Since you put me down, I've been out going in my head.
Nice.
And in the morning, I just stay in bed. Oh, Rhonda, you look so fine. And I know it wouldn't take much time for you to help me, Rhonda. Help me get her out of my heart. Dee do 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 do. Help me, Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda. You get the idea. It's a song that's so beautifully laid out. It doesn't force the listener, who's not a professional singer. They don't have to sing very much. It leads ba da da 1 2 3 4 1. Help me. They don't even have to come in on the one. They get to wait. It's and so when you hear that song, when that song comes on the radio, you're just honking along with it. So when our listeners are out there, our songwriter students, you're not writing about you, you're writing about them. And this notion of writing songs and not writing them for yourself, but instead writing them for your listener. How do you make your listener sound good?
What? You should be the head of the songwriting department.
No, I shouldn't. Trust me, that department is in very fine hands. But But that again, it's. I was a number of years ago. I was listening to a interview with Alan J. Lerner and Frederick Lowe, and they were talking about writing My Fair Lady, and they gave an interview about writing for Rex Harrison, and this just blew my mind. I was this is probably 20 odd years ago, but I was listening, maybe 30, but I was listening to this, and they were talking about writing for Rex Harrison, who was an English actor, but who was not a singer. So when they wrote songs for him, I've grown accustomed to her face. She rather makes the day begin. He could speak that. I've grown accustomed to the tune she whistles night and noon. Her smiles, her frowns, her ups, her downs are second nature to me now. But you could speak it. Are second nature to me now.
I've noticed in your songs, because I'm trying to copy your song. I'm like, God, his voice, like the voice is so every word that you sing, I can understand it. It's like I comprehend it.
But wait a second, that's Lerner. That's Alan J. Lerner and Frederick Lowe writing that. You bet you can understand, because they are great songwriters. A great songwriter, the words fit, and then when they're writing a song for somebody who can actually sing, I don't know, I don't remember who played Freddie in the on Broadway, but when you hear, I have often walked down this street before, but the sidewalk always stayed beneath my feet before. All at once am I several stories high, here on the street where you live. Now, that's a hard song. That's not easy to sing, but it's written for somebody who can sing their butt off. And it's very exciting to this idea when you're writing your songs that you can that it's not some sort of self-indulgent exercise, but it's an actual, who's going to be listening to it? Who do I want to hear this song? Who do I want to talk to? And how, I'm not going to spew all over them my self-absorbed image of myself, but no, I'm going to, what do they want to hear about me, about my view of the world? How do I make them sound good when they sing along?
Yeah, I was listening to your lyrics today, working out, and I was I didn't think it was going to get me through the workout, but I'm telling you, I was lifting a lot of weight, and it helped. It got me through it. So
what can I tell you? I'm glad to hear it.
But your lyrics, they always I find with my writing, I'm just like, and I'm amazed with yours. It's like you always keep it fresh. I want to hear what's coming up next, and I'm just amazed.
Again, we need to be writing. I write a lot of stories in my lyrics, but you can tell a story in a song. I mean, if you got a Rolling Stones going, you blew my door, and then she blew my mind. You're honky-tonk woman. You don't have to hear every one of the lyrics that Mick Jagger sings, but he's careful to give you each lyric that you do hear. He's so focused, and you can hear it so clearly that you're getting a story, whether or not you're getting images that are stringing together to make a story. So you don't have to be literal in your story, but you do have to be clear in your images. And it's got to be compelling. It's got to be something that people want to that interests people. Yeah, if you're writing a song about, oh, my little puppy dog is a cute little puppy dog. Gee, I love my puppy dog a lot. Forget it. It's just you need to involve people in a story that you're impassioned about, and that is accessible to them so they can follow along.
Excellent. And who were your influences? I know you talked about like the Broadway hits, but who really kind of taught you songs and construction of them? And in the recent phase of my writing, one of the biggest problems is to overcome your insecurity, your right to write, as it were. And I was given that permission about 8 years ago by a writer who died at the age of 100, and his name was Irving Berlin. Excellent. I brought a What'll I Do? I love that song.
Oh, please. It's so great.
Yeah.
But Irving Berlin was... He wrote a song, God Bless America.
Mm-hmm.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her with the light through the night from above. Through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans. Then this lyric here was the one that took me, that taught me. To the oceans white with foam.
Wow, that's...
Well, it's realistically, it's not a very good lyric. Foam. Mm-hmm. Now, we've heard the song 1,000 times, so we're there. We've got it. We've heard Kate say, God bless America. So it's fine.
Yeah.
We're all set. But I had this vision of Irving Berlin as a young man taking this song into a producer. Mm-hmm. And Irving Berlin was mean as a snake. He was a tough old bird, and I bet you he was a tough young man.
Yeah.
And I had this vision of him sitting in some producer's office with a big upright piano playing that song. From the mountains to the prairies, mm-hmm. to the oceans wide with foam, God bless America. And I had the vision of this producer smoking a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Irving, I like the song, but can you do anything about the word foam? Foam. And I had this vision of Irving Berlin going, no. And then saying to this, this obviously never happened,
right,
it's just
right.
my fantasy. But it's my dream. And and Irving Berlin looking at this producer and going, do you think that I don't know that the word foam is a weak word? Do you think for 1 minute that I don't wish that I were a better songwriter and a better lyricist so I didn't have to use the word foam? Do you think that I didn't go through every rhyme that I could, from the mountains to the prairies, to my bald head which doesn't need a comb, from the mountains to the prairies to that deep garden soil filled with loam? Do you think that Irving Berlin didn't go through all these various places? And he compromised, and he set with a compromise of the word foam because he had a word that he had to rhyme. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so good and so strong and so perfect. And he knew it. So he had to make a compromise. And he made the compromise. But this is the essential ingredient for songwriters, for creators. When you make the compromise, you stand by it, and you stand by the lyrics you write, and you don't mumble them, hoping no one will notice the weak ones. The weaker they are, the stronger you sing them.
Mm-hmm.
From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam.
Mm-hmm.
You got a problem with that? No, sir, I don't think so.
You know, the funny thing is, I've heard that song a million times, and I just must not really listen to the lyrics, and I never knew that part was in there.
Well, again, it's there. You've
Mm-hmm.
heard it a million times. We take it for granted now, but it was written. One time, it was a brand new song that nobody had ever heard before.
Mm-hmm.
So when we create our songs, we stand by our creativity. Now, one of the questions often that comes up is, what do you do when you go into the studio with a producer, with other musicians, with people who want, and you're sort of young and green, and people want to change your music or have suggestions for you? And these are good suggestions. They're not disingenuous. And I have something that I use in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is if I'm working with a producer and the producer has a suggestion for me, the suggestion has to be reasoned, i.e., if I have a lyric, if this producer wants a lyric change or a melody change, they have to explain to me clearly in reasoned argument as to why it should be changed. And if they cannot do that, it stays the way it is. So sometimes a producer will say to me, I'm not so sure about this lyric or this melody or this bridge. I go, well, that's fine. Do you have another one? No. Oh, I see. You want me to change it. Okay, no, that's fine too. I'll be delighted to change it. But give me your reason why.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be any number of reasons. It could be a marketing reason. It could be an accessibility reason. And if it's a good reason, I'm delighted to do it. But if it's not, if they can't articulate it, do not move away from your vision without very, very good reason.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you come up with the stage performance class? Is that something you taught immediately when you got to Berklee? And I'm also just going to say a few more things. How do you find such a presence on the stage? I mean, you know how to teach stage performance, but how is that just through years of performing and understanding, or is there someone who taught you, or you just kind of figured out yourself?
When it comes to being on stage, I'm really pretty self-taught.
Mm-hmm.
I'm comfortable on stage. I like being on stage. But again, as you're aware from class,
mm-hmm.
I like to teach, but I need my students. I cannot be a teacher without my students.
Mm-hmm.
My students can be students without me as a teacher. I need them. They don't need me.
Right.
I need my audience. I love to be a performer, but I cannot be a performer and an entertainer without an audience.
Mm-hmm.
I need my audience. They don't need me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that on such a deep and visceral level, that I live and die at the hands of my audience, that it's very comfortable for me. I'm comfortable on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm comfortable because they don't have to love me. I love them enough for the both of us.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to listen to me. They don't have to like me. It's me who needs them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's when I get on stage, I get on stage with no fear of my audience, just love for them. I
Mm-hmm.
need them. If they do not suspend their reality and enter my reality, I will die, and I know it.
Mm-hmm.
So when they do enter my reality and applaud what I do, they've essentially saved my life, and it empowers them so thoroughly
Mm-hmm.
that it makes them feel very good. They feel very good to be that empowered.
When you talk about in class, like when kids get nervous, obviously when being on stage, and you say nervousness takes away paying attention to your audience, but paying attention towards yourself, and that's something you don't want to do on the stage.
Well, nervousness is self-centered.
What
you're thinking about when you're nervous is yourself, and audiences are paying you to think about them.
Right. So I guess you said something like when you're nervous, what is that? Like you try and go on stage with a broken heart or something?
Well,
I don't understand what that means.
It's not an easy concept.
Mm-hmm.
But what you do You're nervous that you're not going to be successful, that you're not going to do well, that you're not going to get across, that you're going to make a fool of yourself, all the things that make us nervous when we go on stage. And so what if, rather than get nervous when I go on stage, if I don't think that I'm the right person, or that I may not be at my best, or that, again, all that myriad of things that can happen to us when we walk on stage. Instead of that making me fearful, I just let it break my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I am so sorry.
Oh, now it's making the connection.
I am so sorry that I wasn't able to be what I wanted to be for you. And so if you roll your fear into a broken heart, the great thing about a broken heart is that it allows the audience to heal you.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot deal with your fear and your bitterness. They know what to do with your broken heart. They can look at you and say, don't be sad.
Mm-hmm.
I love you. Wow. So you empower an audience with your broken heart. You give them the power to heal you. And boy, audiences like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when we listen to the great live records, there's a record made by Ray Charles.
I was just going to say Ray Charles.
Live at the Santa Monica Civic Center in 1955, 56, something like that. And Ray's on stage. And he's so sick that he can barely play. And you hear in this live record the audience heal Ray Charles.
Mm-hmm.
And he becomes progressively stronger, and he becomes well. And the audience is aware of what they're doing, that their encouragement has healed this guy. And I'm telling you, the electricity is beyond belief.
So that's happened to you before then, where you've been healed like that?
Yeah, it happens to me all the time.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it happens to me constantly,
Yeah.
sure. Where an audience, and sometimes later in a show, sometimes I'll look at an audience and I'll go, when I got here tonight, I have to tell you, I was broken. I was tired, and I was exhausted. And being in your presence has restored me completely. What an amazing gift you've given me. Thank you so much for that. And that audience just goes,
Yeah.
man, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Our pleasure. Empower that audience. You need them. They do not need you. If they don't have you, they'll be fine. If you don't have them, you will die.
So technically, then I don't even have to be I have to write good songs. But if the audience somehow loves you that much, then you don't have to be the best player or the best musician, or is that
clearly talent and good looks, as you know, are desperately overrated.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when people say to me, "Oh, he's so talented," or say they speak about their kid or somebody in their school or some Berklee student. They're so talented. Talent is a useless commodity. Talent and good looks are both a big problem, and they're a problem for this reason: when you are talented and good-looking, you get used to people coming to you. People are going to pay you for a lifetime because you were able to go to them. You were able to find them. They did not have to find you. So the talent, and if you've noticed, sometimes people who aren't very talented or good-looking do enormously well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a combination of luck factors, but tenacity and intelligence. Luck, tenacity, and intelligence, not necessarily in that order,
Mm-hmm.
trump talent and good looks, always.
Well said.
The world belongs to the tenacious,
Yeah.
not to the talented or good-looking.
Well, I was watching. I was just watching a DVD of you. You're giving like I think it was the Berklee 5-week kids, and you're giving a lecture or something, and you talked about how you played. You're playing like a banquet hall or special, I don't know, a private party or something, and there's a lot of really wealthy people there, and when someone there came up to you and felt really bad for you because they just thought you were just going to do a terrible job and just be god-awful, and then you got up on stage and said something like, here's my music, it's going to be focused, driven, and do you remember that at all from that?
I do remember, Brant. The lesson there is that I won't do anything for an audience.
Mm-hmm.
They have to come part way. Now, if they've bought a ticket, the assumption is that they've already come part way. But if I'm a party favor, I went out to Seattle a couple of nights ago, and I was doing a corporate show.
Mm-hmm.
I was being paid a lot of money to go out there and be essentially a party favor.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a hard ticket. Nobody at this event bought a ticket for me. Some of them knew who I was. Many of them had no clue who I was. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Got up on stage, and I can be that, but there is a little bit of reserve in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
where I place the music here, and they need to come
Come
pick
to
it up.
it, yeah.
They need to come to it. I don't take it all the way to them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't beg them to take it. No.
How do you beg an audience? Is that when you how do you do that to get them to come to you?
It's an interesting question. I don't know. It's sort of like the rich kid in middle school who'd let you play with all his toys. If you'd just be his friend. No.
Yeah.
No. We. Here's my music. Here's who I am. I want you to like me.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't, that's okay. But I'm not going to do anything to get you to accept who I am. Because it won't work.
Right. Would you want to play a song and then few more questions, and then you're free man?
Well, it's great being with you here.
Oh, thank you.
Testing. I want to play a song by Oscar Hammerstein II and Richard Rodgers from South Pacific. And it's sung normally by a female, so you'll pardon my gender crossing. But I need to hear our listeners. I need them to hear how beautifully these lyrics are assembled. Oscar Hammerstein II is such a disciplined writer. And the lyrics are so beautifully placed. He sings, I'm as corny as Kansas in August. I'm as normal as blueberry pie. No more a smart little girl with no heart. I have found me a wonderful guy. I'm in a conventional dither with a conventional gleam in my eye. And you'll note there's a lump in my throat when I speak of that wonderful guy. Now listen to these lyrics where in this bridge where he goes, I'm bromatic and bright as a daisy in May, a cliche coming true. I'm bromatic and... Oh, I'm sorry, I've messed it up.
No worries.
Let me... So, I'm as trite and as gay as a daisy in May, a cliche coming true. I'm bromatic and bright as a moon-happy night, throwing light on the dew. Oh, it's just, what lyric writing. I'm as corny as Kansas in August, high as a flag on the 4th of July. And you'll excuse the expression I use, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love. I'm in love with a wonderful guy. It's just, yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein II, but again, those lyrics, great lyrics. People often will want to sing me a song. And I'll go, don't sing me a song. Tell me the first line. Speak the lyrics to me. Are you speaking a story that I'm going to want to hear? Or do you give me where you are, who you are? The opening lines are very important. You can't expect an audience to stay with you for the entire first verse while you're waiting for the chorus to come around. Mm-hmm. If your first verse isn't strong, sing your chorus. Then go into your first verse. This is the kind of editing that and the kind of direction. The problem with getting rid of the record companies is you got rid of the gatekeepers, the heads of those record companies. And the fact is that for 20-ish year-olds, the heads of those record companies often knew a great deal. They knew a great deal about lyrics. They knew a great deal. In my early contracts, speaking, there's a guy named Charlie Koppelman, and Charlie Koppelman was a real tune man, and he was the head of my record company, and he drove me crazy, but the fact is that he knew songs, and he knew how to direct me and teach me about songs, and he knew how to encourage the good ones and discourage the bad ones, and to get that level of input, to get that maturity from somebody that I was bound to by contract. So I could hate him all I wanted when he didn't like the drivel I was writing. Mm-hmm. I could hate him all I wanted when he told me that out of 10 new songs that I had written, 2 of them were good and the rest were crap. Mm-hmm. I go, well, I hate you and I want you dead. How dare you approach, I'm an artist. How dare you tell me about my music? But the fact is that he knew. Mm-hmm. And he was right and I was young.
Who in today's music scene, who do you think's the best, or like the best? I mean, it can be, or who do you look for? I mean, do you see Berklee kids and they blow you away, or what does it take to blow you away? And talent. I mean,
the quality around Berklee now has accelerated enormously, but that's the without a financial underpinning. The problem is that those great executives who would take our Berklee students and who would guide them and bring them along, sign them to contract, steal all their money, and but while they were stealing all their money, in fact, educate them and develop them. There is, with the digital transfer of music for virtually no money, there is no financial wherewithal for those people to do it, and they go and do something else because they can. Mm-hmm. And so this is a great dilemma. The greatest dilemma we face is how do we get an income stream that will encourage gatekeepers. This is going to be solved by Berklee students right now. It's probably, I have my ideas as to how to do it. Basically a glorified ASCAP BMI escrowed money that is then released with the transfer through the internet of your watermarked creativity. But that's just my idea. Things take different forms. So,
All right, let me see on the list of questions here. Okay, here's kind of the last two. What are some of the roadblocks you've encountered on your rise to becoming a successful musician?
Whew, man. The greatest roadblock for me has been my stubbornness and my ego, my self-absorption. I'm 57, and when I got into my 50s, I really I was really able to get a sense of the unfathomable depth of my ignorance. I didn't have to know anymore. I didn't have to be right anymore. And I wish I could have been dumb earlier. I don't know anything now, but and it's frees me enormously because I'm free to take suggestion and to see other good ideas. I love being wrong. I'm wrong constantly, and it delights me. I wish I could have been. I wish I could have been wrong earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
And how does one measure success in this kind of business?
Well, it's success. One time a 10th grader asked me, sent me a few questions. They asked if it's possible to make a living and making music, being a creator. And the answer is that sure it is, but you want to make sure that your needs are modest. One of the great dilemmas is where do you live to make your music?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best place to live to make your music is to be where the infrastructure, where you've got an existing infrastructure, where you're known, where you've got family to support you and help you. Just to go cold to Southern California, to Los Angeles, if you don't know anybody, is very, very tough.
Remember we were talking about that kind of in the John Mayer Clinic a little bit.
Yeah, well, John spoke about going to Atlanta, and Atlanta was a nice compromise in terms of cost of living, but enough people to develop a career. And John's an enormously bright and ambitious fella, and so that's he has those things going for him, and he has wonderful internal time.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good songwriter. I'm not sure he's a great pop writer, but I think he's bright enough to be able to find great pop songs, or I hope that he's bright enough to be able to find great pop songs to do. The pop songs are essential because the pop songs are the doorway to your own writing and your own soul. It's the song that gets on the radio that's played everywhere all the time, that introduces people to you. Then when they go and buy your music, the pop song opens the door. I think of my brother James, who's a wonderful writer, but he's not a great pop writer. Mm-hmm. He's a good pop writer.
Well, I'm sorry. What's a good is a good pop writer like someone like Rodgers and Hammerstein, or like
certainly Rodgers and Hammerstein were great Broadway writers,
right.
and those songs are great pop songs.
Mm-hmm.
But in contemporary music, great pop writers, Holland Dozier Holland out of Motown.
Mm-hmm.
How sweet it is to be loved by you. 2, 3, 1. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Backrack David. What do you get? Do you know the way to San Jose? I've been away so long, I might go wrong and lose my way. Again, effortless to sing this stuff. It makes the audience walk on by. Boop, doop, boop, boop, doop. Walk on by. do. Van Morrison, you're my brown-eyed girl. Do you remember when we used to sing sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-da? I mean, that makes anybody can sing that, and they sound good singing it.
Yeah, I just kind of had an epiphany. Songwriting's supposed to be easy.
Songwriting
I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying the song should be.
Songwriting is great pop writing. Now, I'm just talking about pop writing here. But pop writing, if you expect to have a career and you're going to get to people, you're going to need some pop songs. You're going to need some hit songs. Although it's the easiest way to them. And so you have a Carole King, who's a great pop writer. You make me feel like a natural woman.
Yeah.
Ooh, baby, what's it done to me? Yeah, that song makes somebody in the car sound good. Earth, Wind, and Fire, dancing to the music. If you turn, that comes on and you're turning that up. Brian Wilson, great Beach Boy, Help Me Rhonda, or she's a little deuce coupe, you don't know what I got. There's that Carole King, everybody doing a brand new dance now. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. So you can take any part of that song. You can be the lead singer, or you can be the backup singer, or you can be both of them. Mm-hmm. You make your listener sound good. So, pop songs. Ooh, by the way, I've loved pop music since I was 2 years old. Mm-hmm. I love hit records, pop records.
It's not too late. You still think you still have time to put one out there? That's going to be the.
That's an interesting question. It's a the fact is that I still get to write a lot, and I still get to have a wonderful time doing that. I'm a known quantity. I'm known in the industry, and people know who I am, and. The good news is that I'm known, and the bad news is that I'm known. I mean, it's there isn't an unlimited future for a 57-year-old veteran. For Berklee students, there's an unlimited future, and so. Yes, maybe lightning strikes and one of my songs winds up in a film somewhere and the film's a big hit and my song's a big hit. But realistically, those things are for me like winning the lottery. I have a very loyal fan base and absolutely wonderful career. And one of the major parts of my career is to be able to spend time with my students at Berklee.
Mm-hmm. Well, you want to finish it off with the song? I'll leave whatever you.
Let me see what I got.
I want to show the audience here because you also can write really funny satirical songs too, or you can play whatever you want.
Okay, this one says, "I get lost crossing the street. I can't find my own 2 feet, but I love my baby and she thinks I'm sweet. I must be doing something right. She's intelligent, patient, hard-working, and shrewd. I'm sarcastic, bombastic, lazy, and rude. But we burn it up when we get in that mood. I must be doing something right. Finally, there's a crystal sunrise. Finally, the world is fair. All the love that I've kept hidden from the moon is finally ours to share. There are plenty of guys she could find, good-looking, rich, and not out of their minds. But hey, good news, love's still blind, and I must be doing something. I must be doing something. I must be doing something. I must be doing something right.
All right, Livingston. Sir, thank you so much for being on the show.
Brant,
I
it's
regard
great to see you. And I'll see you on Tuesday.
Right. Thank you so much.
All right, my friend. Good to see you. Thank you.